And good afternoon, everybody. Hi, I'm Walter. I'm the Dutch mentor, and today I'm joined by Rich Bruno, who I had the pleasure of meeting in a coaching session, a coaching forum called Mountaintop Mastermind. Over the last 3, 4 months, we've connected multiple times, have learned more about each other, and as all of you know by now, it is about sharing, about experiences, sharing, learning skills and knowledge. So we all can continue to grow from that. So today I'm inviting Rich to come on as an executive coach. So he actually does something very similar to I do, industry agnostic, work with leaders to promote servant leadership. So Rich, before we get started, and again, welcome to our podcast today. And we're going to talk about 20 minutes with multiple questions. Like we know, it's always free flow. We can stop and go. And see where the energy flows, as they as
hmm
they say. Tell us a little bit about yourself, so the audience gets an opportunity to get to know you, and then we'll dive into some of the specific, philosophies that you have.
Great, great. Well, Walter, it's so great to be connected with you here, and I appreciate you inviting me on. So I am a retired supply chain leader. 30 years of supply chain experience. I worked with great organizations. The last one was Johnson and Johnson. I retired 2 years after turning, I'm sorry, 2 weeks after turning 55, and I'll talk more about that later. But the predominance of my work as a supply chain leader was really people focused. It was about talent management and development. Always been passionate about that. Putting the right people in the right jobs, helping them to develop, being a great servant leader. So that's my kind of corporate leadership track. I'm also a small business owner. I own a health and wellness program called the Max Challenge, and it's a franchise business. I've been doing it for 11 years, and I did it concurrent with my Johnson and Johnson career, which was quite the heavy lift because I'm a very active owner operator in that business. Fast forward to my retirement, 3 months after retiring, I decided to get certified as a John Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer. So I've been doing coaching, consulting over the last 5 years for the most part. Started as very broad brush, personal development, small business growth and development of the business owners. Some executive coaching where I worked with the executives and their organizations on everything from annual goal setting to retreats and culture development to operating process improvements to hiring and staffing, a whole host of different things, which is really my primary focus now. So I do executive coaching. All the things that I do and about me can be found on my website, richbrunoconsulting.com. But I think at my core, the way I describe myself, Walter, is more about who I am. I'm a relationship-centered person. I have a giver's mindset. My family is extremely important to me. I have three great kids. I'm married for 20, almost 27 years. Later this month will be 27 years. And those are the things that really resonate most for me. The kind of person that I am and how I show up for the people I love around me.
Excellent. It is. I love hearing that. Me too. All the things you mentioned are very, very important to me. One of the things as a coach or as a mentor, we can do a lot of things,
Yeah.
but often we are really, really, really good at just one or two of those things. Highlight some of the things that you feel you're exceptionally great at. Maybe it's experience based. Maybe it's something you were taught in the John Maxwell School of Coaching. But share one or two things and dive a little deeper into what it is that you really love to do.
Yeah, I think where I'd start with, I developed this model about a year and a half ago, or maybe a year ago, called the well-balanced leader model. Okay. And it was born out of my observations and my own experiences. So I'll elaborate on that. So the things that I really love to do is to help executives have a totally fulfilled life because predominantly executives are very myopic. They're focused on driving growth of their organization and there are quite heavy demands on all of that.
Mhm.
So that can really take over very easily. And then you put aside all the other parts of your life. And so I'll talk about the components of the well-balanced leader model. But basically, if you looked at a pie, and you can see this on my website, you go to the executive coaching tab and there's a well-balanced leader model tab. You can go there and it describes each of the five components. But what I like doing most is to help people live better lives, whether it's an individual, professional, and with the executive, it's specific to this well-balanced leader model. And what I am looking to influence them with is that they can have it all. Instead of just the one dimensional, I'm a great leader and grew this business 10x, that has a cost and a consequence.
Yeah.
If you dismiss all the other things that are important to you in your life. So it has the well-balanced leader model talks about the professional competencies, leadership excellence, time management mastery, which is extremely important for very high demanding careers, right? And many people fall down on that because they don't delegate well, they don't put their priorities in the right place, they're not really purposeful and intentional. So the time management mastery is another major component. So that's the first two. And on the other side of the pie has three slices, and it's self-care, it's continuous improvement and development, and it's your legacy. Those are the three things. And so, what I impart on leaders and executives is to help them understand that they can be better balanced and retain the interest in their hobbies, reserve time for their family and their relationships, and not just be about the work. But the bottom line, Walter, and the reality of this, that all sounds wonderful, but it all boils down to discipline and making choices. And then I bring it back to me. For me, I retired at 55 because not because I could just kick back and do nothing. I'm a driven, purposeful person. I want to contribute to others going forward. For me, it was more about a realization that the grind was getting really tough. I mentioned I own a small business. I still do. I was running a very demanding career at J&J. And the combination of both of them while trying to raise a family with three younger children was extremely challenging,
Hmm.
with my wife, of course. But it was very challenging. And I had the realization that my quality of life had to improve. That was it. And that really probably was subconsciously the evolution of the well-balanced leader model without me even realizing, right? So I developed the model later on, but when I retired, it was all about quality of life. My twins were 14, my youngest daughter was 11, and people thought I was nuts, to be honest. A lot of people said, "What are you doing, man? Your kids haven't even gone to college." Okay, but you know what? I want to live for now,
Yeah.
right? I want to enjoy every moment and be intentional about how I live my life, not wait till, oh, maybe it's 62 or 65. Nothing's promised. Absolutely nothing is promised. So for me, it was, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to shift my focus to running my small business. From a compensation standpoint, it wasn't going to replace my J&J compensation, but I was willing to go forward and make the best of it, even if it meant an adjustment in my lifestyle,
Right.
because the quality of life was more important to me than anything else.
I couldn't agree with you more. I always say that people when you work with people, they say, "Well, build me a house." Well, listen, building the house is not as simple as just picking up a piece of land and building on top of it. It's what is in the soil that matters,
Hmm.
right? Mental wellness, spiritual wellness, physical wellness, relationship wellness, financial wellness. If any of these pillars are not in good contact, whatever you build on top of it is going to be on shaky grounds. All
Yes.
right, so I like the fact that you mentioned these things, and self-awareness and self-development are really good pillars to have.
Yeah.
So with that said, we know today in the workplace that 69% of people are at or near burnout.
Yeah.
72%, scary, almost the same number, of people really don't want to go to work on Monday morning. They'd much rather be doing something else. So I'm sure that you've come across those types of people. How do you address that? How do you work with a client? Or what is it you tell them to get them to think and act differently?
Yeah, I love that question. And you are so right, Walter. Those statistics are staggering. I would even argue further that working with some people in healthcare, I see that even more, that burnout rate and the intensity. But to address your question, I am someone who wants to influence others to live a life that they love. So the very first thing I tell them is, if you're not excited about what you're doing, you should be doing something else, right? And I believe that, and I'm a model of it based on what I just told you about the retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I didn't love my career at JJ. I loved it, my roles, the people I worked with, but I needed to do something more for me, which goes back to the individual. You need to do something more for you. How are you most fulfilled? And we go through this process of talk about what really excites you, what really fulfills you, what would you change if you could? Now, people get stuck in, well, this is my source of income. I got to do it. There is no other way. But sometimes it's an automatic response. It's not, well, let's dig a little deeper and figure out maybe, is there some other way? Is there something else you could do? Is there something you can communicate to your manager that might change the way you work or the environment that you're in? I'm very, very big on culture, and I've worked with a lot of companies on that. Um, Culture is so critically important, and I know you know this, but really for the audience to share this, what I tell them is if they're leaders, okay, and they're dissatisfied, well, who are you surrounding yourself with? What kind of environment are you creating? Are you creating an environment that people want to come to work? Like it starts with you. You have
Yeah.
to model it. You have to engage your team members to say, what's that recipe that works for them? What's the combination of work and play, right? The social element within work, especially in hybrid work situations now, it's even more difficult. But creating the right culture goes a long way. And so for the individual contributor working with them, well, what kind of environment do you thrive in? And where are you going to be most satisfied? Go find that. Maybe it's a lateral move in another division. Maybe it's another company doing the same thing you do now. It just might be something that's missing. So, what I encourage them to do is to be bold and to take that leap with intention, right? You have to think through, how do you effectively make a transition to something else? But it's all about living a life that you love. And I'm just such a big proponent of that. And I try to influence as many people on that as I can.
Yeah, great work. I always say that, listen, money doesn't make for happiness. It makes life a little easier. I
Mm,
too had a very good, the last 4 years I was in a for-profit corporate world, made all the kind of money I ever wanted to make, but it certainly didn't make me any happier at the end of the day. It's kind of like you have to start questioning yourself, am I on the right track?
mm,
So we did two questions out of that. One, you mentioned there's a lot of people in the age group of 55 plus who still would like to work, get laid off, and then now what, right? So take that an example of somebody who's in that category, 50 plus years old, looking for a new job, transition, got laid off, or really feels that they're unhappy where they are today. How can they land that new job? But also at the same time, how do you work with them on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis to be able to make sure that they take the actions and are accountable in order to be able to create these new dreams and opportunities for themselves?
So on the first question, and then we'll come back to the second one. I actually was just on a podcast that I was talking about that transition to retirement, but not in the aura of I got laid off, I need another job. But one of the things that came out of that, and some things I've worked on with some others around interviewing skills and so on, when they're struggling to find that next role, is that it's all about the network. That's what I would encourage them to do. So many people, for whatever reason, feel there's a stigma. I got laid off. They don't need me. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Look around. Look at unemployment. Look at what major organizations are doing. It's constantly a case of being more effective and focusing on the bottom line and driving profits. And unfortunately, that translates to reduction in workforce many times,
Yeah.
right? So you are just a byproduct of a situation. That's it. So getting them in the right mindset to understand that it's not about them and it's not personal, but what can they actually do about it? So first thing is drop the stigma that I got laid off, right? Go into a more productive, action-oriented mode of who's in my network that I can tap into. That's really, really important because I will tell you that, the approach of just point and click and send out job applications and refining your resume doesn't work.
Oh.
It works with a very, very small percentage of people because of the technology we have today with applicant tracking systems, right? The ways to write resume. People don't sit down and review resumes one on one. It doesn't happen. It's by the thousands, tens of thousands sometimes. So you know what? Yes, have a resume so you have a jumping off point, a talking point about your skills and experiences. Great. Leverage your network. If you're not calling 10 people a day and specifically asking for, hey, here's my situation. Do you know someone? Or do you know someone who knows someone? Or this is what I'm looking for. How could you help? Be bold. You must ask. So that's the first thing I encourage people to do. You don't be the victim. Go do something about it. Leverage your
Mm-hmm.
network. Okay. The second part of your question, if you don't mind, just repeat that. You had a second.
Uh, you got me. The second part is that what is the action item? Do you make them, you impress upon that they have to take? So you talk about,
Yeah.
go to make these phone calls every single
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
What else, when you start building their skills, knowledge, and abilities, how do you get them to take action or be accountable to themselves? Because again, we've seen it too many times. People say yes, 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 but they don't follow through. And then you should not expect any outcomes that are any different, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
what do you bring to your client that is different, that allows them to take action actually and get the results that they are looking for?
Very robust accountability tools. And that's in effect what a coach does, right? You're an accountability partner, but
Yeah.
holding them to committed actions. And it's varies by individual, of course, right? So you identify what their
Mm-hmm.
why is. Why do they want to get from here to there? Right? And what can they do to make that happen? And then I have them, document committed actions they're going to take, and we measure the progress against that. And we even grade themselves sometimes. So it might be a week on week thing. Okay, I said I was going to call 20 people that I know. Okay, did you do that? Yes or no? How would you grade yourself? What did you get out of that? What would you do differently? So it should be a constant approach of continuously improving what they can do to drive the outcome. You first have, I think you have to start from the beginning and make sure they understand the value of the outcome. This is where I want to get. Okay, if that reward is worthwhile enough, you'll be willing to do the work that's required, right? So let me help you get there by, helping you to take those actions and holding you accountable to that progress. And then sometimes I'll be in a mode where I think effective coaches let individuals that they're coaching, if it is a one-on-one situation, you want to draw out of their subconscious the solution themselves. You're not here, this is the result, just go do this. Because you know what? Anybody could do that. Go read this book, go do that. Oh, just do that, you'll be fine. I think they have to learn it themselves. It's like that teaching someone to fish, right?
Yeah.
Versus so most effectively, it's let them discover or uncover in their subconscious what is it that they really want to get out of this so that they can develop the actions and you enable that with them. The other thing that you can do as a coach, and I've done this many times, is I call it being their thinking partner, right? So we can collaborate on solutions. Oh, have you tried looking in this industry? Oh, have you tried calling the 3 level down contact in LinkedIn, right? So have you tried doing cold outreach with LinkedIn or other things to develop new relationships, expand your network? So it could be collaborative, but a lot of times it's first starting with them.
Yeah. So really good stuff. So thank you for that. And I think that as a roundup, I always say, or I learned a scary statistic that 95% of executive leaders believe that their people should be coached and mentored on a consistent basis. I think we all agree on that. Sadly, only 5% of them take meaningful actions. That leaves a lot of people out there who don't see the effort by their employer. So, what do you say, and as a closing comment, what would you say to a potential mentee or coachee to why it is important for them to invest into themselves and to get an outside coach and mentor?
That's a great question. I think you're right that most people don't take action. Part of that reason is that people don't want to perceive it that they need help, right? So, oh no, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the CEO, yeah, my team needs help, but I'm good. I'm fine, right? Not maybe not so much. But that aside, what I would encourage a prospective client, whether it's a CEO or their team, we have an obligation to be at our best and continue to grow. If we're in status quo mode, we're not growing, we're not getting better. So, to be effective, we need to continue to work on ourselves. And to have an external party, an outside perspective, someone that's going to steer you in directions, point out things that are opportunities for you, help you to put actions together to drive or close those gaps around the opportunities. I look at a coach as an enabler. It's not, oh, because I have a problem. A
Yeah.
coach is an enabler. If a CEO says, you know what, I can't retain talent, I have trouble hiring people. Well, maybe we should examine the ways in which you're filling positions, right? Are you putting the right person in the right job? Do you know how to screen for the right people? Right? And what's the process that you use? How about your succession planning internally? Are you leveraging that? Right? What's the development opportunity for people on your team? Like these are all things that are related to really what effective leaders do. So, long answer, but the
Yeah.
bottom line is a coach or a consultant is an enabler. You need to leverage their skill set to help you to be better.
Excellent. So, where can people find you?
Thank you, Walter, for that. They can find me on richbrunoconsulting.com. On that website, it talks about, who I am, what I do, who I serve, how I could benefit others. It also has a free 30-minute Zoom button in the upper right-hand corner for anyone to just go and discuss with me what some of the challenges are they have today, or maybe to learn more about what I do to see if it's of value to them. So once again, it's richbrunoconsulting.com. Easiest place to find me. You'll learn the most about me. It has all connections to all my socials like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, etc.
Rich, thank you very much for joining the podcast this morning, and it will be hopefully casted out wide net soon. I think there's certainly some valuable lessons that people can take away from this, and to go on their path, their journey to reaching out to their big dreams. And as I always say, dream big, act small. And with that said, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon again.
Thank you so much, Walter, for having me. It was great to chat with you.
Thank you. And now we need to figure out how to